Have you ever just looked at two companies, selling basically the same thing in the same market and wondered, why is one of them an absolute superstar while the other one just kind of flops? It's one of the biggest questions in business, right? Well, let's dive into this because we're about to decode the entire strategy behind why some firms just consistently win. It really is a puzzle. I mean, is it just better leadership? Is it smarter marketing? Or is it just plain old luck? Well, if you've ever thought it was just a roll of the dice, I'm here to tell you to think again. The answer is way more systematic and honestly a lot more interesting than that. You see, the real secret, the thing that makes all the difference is a solid, robust strategy. And I want you to think of this whole thing like a detective story. To solve the mystery of why some companies perform so much better, we have to follow the evidence. So today, we're going to uncover 3 crucial clues that separate the winners from everybody else. Okay, so our very first clue is all about having what we call an unfair advantage. Now, this isn't about cheating or anything like that. It's about building a unique, sustainable edge that your competitors just can't easily copy. It's the real reason a customer chooses you over them time and time again. So how do you build this advantage? Well, what's really fascinating is that there are really only 2 fundamental paths to get there. You can either win on cost, which means you're just the most efficient producer out there, or you can win on differentiation, offering something so unique or valuable that people are happy to pay more for it. You can think of it like a race. You can either be the absolute fastest runner, or you can find a smarter, unique shortcut to the finish line. All right, so let's say you're taking that cost route. How do you actually do it? Well, there are 3 main ways. First, you might have cheaper access to resources. We call those factor costs. Second, you could be producing at a massive scale, which drives your cost for each item way, way down. Or third, you can build up experience over time, just learning to do things better and more efficiently than anyone else. But, and this is so important, take a look at that threats column. None of these advantages last forever on their own. You have to constantly work to protect them. Now, on the flip side, if you choose differentiation, you're creating value in a totally different way. And this isn't just about having a better product with more features. As you can see, it can also come from incredible service, like lightning-fast delivery or amazing tech support. Or it can be your brand itself, that feeling of quality or the lifestyle that customers want to be a part of. The key thing here is you're giving customers a reason to choose you that has nothing to do with being the cheapest. Okay, so you've got your unfair advantage. That's clue number 1. Done. But here's clue number 2, and honestly, this one is huge. Even the best company in the world is going to struggle if it's competing in a terrible industry. The playground you choose to compete in can either be a total goldmine or an absolute minefield. So, how do you spot a great playground? A place where you can actually win? Well, it turns out there are 6 key signs that tell you an industry is structurally attractive. And what that means is it's set up in a way that just allows the companies inside it to be more profitable. So here's what an attractive industry really looks like. First, it's got high costs of entry. It's hard for new players to just jump in and challenge you. Second, the rivalry is pretty low, so competitors aren't just in a constant price war, killing each other's profits. Third, there aren't many good substitutes for what you sell. And this part is critical, neither your customers nor your suppliers have too much power to squeeze you on price. When all these things line up, pretty much everyone in that industry has a much better chance of success. All right, we found our first 2 clues, a strong advantage and an attractive industry. But that brings us to our third and final clue, execution. Because let's be real, a brilliant strategy on paper is completely worthless if you can't actually make it happen in the real world. Having potential is just not the same as fulfilling it. And this chart is the perfect picture of that exact point. Just look at firms A and B. Their potential unit costs are pretty low, right? But then look over at firm C. Based on its size and its experience, its costs should be low. But in reality, its actual costs are way up at 110. That gap right there, between potential and actual, that's the execution gap. And it's where so many companies fail. So why does this happen? Well, this quote just nails it. Underperformance is a symptom of misalignment. It means your day-to-day operations, your company structure, your team skills, none of it is working together to support your big picture strategy. It's kind of like trying to drive a Formula One race car when all 4 wheels are pointing in different directions. You're just not going to get anywhere. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. We've got our 3 big clues: advantage, industry, and execution. So now let's totally shift gears from just analyzing to taking action. How do you actually use all this knowledge to make your company better?
Well, it really boils down to three really powerful strategic moves. Instead of, trying to fix everything all at once, if you focus your energy on one of these three levers, you can dramatically improve your company's performance.
The first move is all about playing to your strengths. You figure out where you're already winning in a great market, and you just double down. You pour resources into reinforcing your existing advantages to become even more dominant right where it matters most. Now, the second strategy is all about focus and discipline. And this means making the tough call to move your resources away from those unattractive markets where you just can't win. You take that time, money, and talent and redeploy it into more promising areas where you have a real shot at building a strong, profitable position. And then there's the third strategy. This one's the most advanced. This is where you don't just play the game better, you actually change the rules of the game. You actively work to make your entire industry a better place to be, maybe by creating new barriers to entry for others or finding clever ways to reduce that destructive rivalry. So we have the clues, we have the core strategic moves, but how do you put it all together? How do you make it real? That's what this final section is all about, giving you a practical, step-by-step blueprint that you can actually use. And here it is. This is the complete recipe for turning all this insight into real action. It's a 6-step process. You start with diagnosis in the first 3 steps. You define your markets, then you assess both the industry's attractiveness and your position inside it. Only after you've done that do you move to action in the final 3 steps. You generate options, you choose the best path forward, and finally, you document a clear plan. Following these steps makes sure your strategy is built on a solid foundation of real analysis, not just guesswork. So when you pull it all together, you see that winning in business really isn't a mystery. It's more of a science. It's about deeply understanding your advantage, your playground, and your execution. So now that you have the blueprint, it really just leaves one big question for you to think about. What is your company's true unfair advantage?